gather more and more information, but they don't understand it. Why do they neutral in this whole thing? I got no argument a lot quickly. But the town board somewhere has got to come to a decision that, okay, we've had a moratorium for 6 months. Now is it safe to pull a moratorium? Somebody, somewhere, somehow, has got to make them feel comfortable with where the science, the expertise is at the time, right?
What most people do with a moratorium is 6 months is not, most people would say is not sufficient for this kind of thing. But what most people would do with a moratorium, do you have a road protection scheme yet in this town? So you have a road protection scheme in this. So one of the things people do is they examine the road protection scheme. Road protection law, road protection agreement. That takes time. If you've got aquifer issues, what people do is they try to make sure it's through the aquifer, because you can put special rules in place that even if you let any use in, whether it's drilling or whatever, you can protect it. I don't know how to do it, but in theory you can protect your aquifers. So there's, on the science part of it, the EPA study is not going to, if you're waiting for the EPA, that's not going to be ready until a year and a half after the S-guys. The S-guys itself, they will admit there's 3 big areas that they don't cover. So you might want to wait for that. Cumulative impacts and things like that. They don't cover health impacts, believe it or not, in the S-guys. So you're at if where you're going, but I certainly agree. You can't have a moratorium. If I gave you the impression you can have a moratorium forever, you can't. The moratorium has to be reasonable, depending on what you're doing with it, and you're supposed to be doing something with it. In other words, maybe you have a committee you call a committee to do your road protection schemes or your aquifer stuff or whatever. There are urban legends out there that say that you can't extend your moratorium. There are urban legends that say you can't extend your moratorium more than X times. Totally false. But what you're doing always has to be reasonable. So if you do your first one for a year and you're not done with whatever you're doing, and you want another, and so you test that. Is a year reasonable? Yes. Everybody would, anybody who agrees you can do a moratorium would agree a year is reasonable. Now you want to extend it for 6 months. Now the test is 18 months. Is 18 months reasonable? So you aggregate it as you go. And part of your test is to what's reasonable is what you've done in the interim. So if you did your first one for a year and you didn't do anything, and then you did a second, people have done this, and then you did 6 months and you didn't do anything, and then somebody, maybe the board changed or maybe something else, somebody said, we got to extend it, this time we got to have a committee. That time, the lawyer's going to tell you you might have a problem. But the first time out for a year, as long as you're doing something, but yeah, if I gave the impression that you can do this and ignore it, you can't. You've got to be looking at the road protection, whatever important to them. Aquifers, road protection, whatever.
I got one more quick. In Dryden, where they went from an anti-fracking to a pro-fracking board.
No. I misspoke. They were anti-fracking, which is why they passed that law. Right. And then some people came in and basically said, you're going to get us sued for passing this law. By the way, there are a whole bunch of people in Dryden who think that the people who brought in answers to sue were these people who said that, but nobody really knows. So it was an anti-fracking board passed the law. Other people said you're going to get us sued. They did get sued. Then other people came in and said, you're a bad board, we're going to kick you out. And it wasn't even close. It was like 60-33, 2-1 or something. Pro-anti-fracking. And it was a well-funded campaign. Happened to be a big developer town. Pardon?
Nothing got over.
No. Yeah, I misspoke.
The word was changed.
No. What Tom West said is the reason that he spent all that time trying to, going across, he was trying to influence that election instead of ginning people up. But he ginned them up the wrong way. Because everybody recorded what he said on the internet and then sent it around. It had the opposite